So I'm here to talk to you about business excellence, and I want to share with you the business excellence journey. I'm very inspired by what Mr. Havinder's story just now. It was really very inspiring to see a Malaysian success story. And since we are in a 5-star hotel, I would like to share with you a little bit of story. Many years ago, when I was presenting for MPC, and during the question and answer session, one of the participants raised his hands and asked the panel and say, would like to ask the panel this question. It's very easy for you. Most of you come from big companies. So being excellent is easy. You know, if you come from the Siemens, you know, the Intel, the big companies of the world. And what we answered the participants was this. If you look at the staff working in Shangri-La today, 5-star service, they greet you, they guide you, but they are Malaysians. The only difference is when they are here, the expectations is raised for them. But if they were to go and work for a local company where the management places expectations of 3-star, they will behave as 3-star service. It's really up to us. Business excellence is really up to us, right? I'd like to thank MPC for the honor. It's always a privilege to be part of sharing, and especially those in Sabah for having me. Gives me a chance to revisit this beautiful state. And most of all, to the participants for being here today. I know, being in senior management, it really takes an effort to come to a conference like this. So thank you very much for being here. So let me start. I want to tell you a story. There was this guy named Richard. He keeps calling an airline, and he couldn't get through. So he got so frustrated, he started an airline. There are many things in your organization you do not know when you are the MD or CEO. Believe me, you do not know. You may think you know, but you don't. There must be a better method. So by the airline not realizing that it's putting its customers on hold and frustrating its customers so much that eventually, instead of losing a customer, they actually gain a competitor. He got so angry, he started an airline to beat them, right? So let not this be your story when you think about your organization. First question is, when you look at your organization, it's really important to say, where do you think you are right now? Do you dare to check, that your organization is in an excellent shape? And this really is a very fundamental question when you get to the top of leadership. It's really a question that all leaders should ask themselves. Replace the word with organization and put it departmental or function. Are we so complacent that we sit down and we think to ourselves that this is really excellent for us? And these are the questions that we always challenge ourselves. So today, I'll lead you into 4 questions I would like you to think about. The first one is the big interview question. Let me elaborate a little bit. The second one is how long you think you're going to live. And the third one is get your organization, brain scan, health check, blood test, right? And the fourth one is, as a part of MPC, help is on hand, right? So we're going to answer looks at these 4 things that over my talk I'm going to share with you. So the big interview question. This is the question. After over 23 years in top management, one of the biggest questions that we test people on and we grapple with anyone that we want to promote is a very simple question. If I make you the head of this company, what management system would you use? Surprisingly, 90% of the people favorite answer is That was the best management system 90% people chose. Ask yourself honestly that question. If you are currently not the CEO of your company, Ask yourself that question. If you're currently a senior manager, but not the departmental head, if you are a local function head and there is an Asia Pacific opening for you, and this question is asked of you during an interview session, and say, oh, the business owner is getting old and he wants a rest, and he says, I spent 10 years or 20 years or 30 years building up this company. I would like to hand it to you now. What management system will you use to run my company? This is a very, very important question, right? And why I ask this is that when I came back from the United States, I was talking to a relative, and we were in Malacca, by the way, I'm from Malacca. And you know, Malacca is very famous for chicken rice. And I asked the relative, I said, you're selling chicken rice ball. Said, why don't you open a second, a third one? I said, as the tourists come, it's going to be a big thing because there was one that was doing very well. And his answer was very typical. He said, I don't have enough relatives. Did you all figure out why he said that? Because in the traditional way of running restaurant, you must have a relative to jaga the till. Make sure that the money is collected by someone you trust, your relative. And because of that, they never grew beyond one restaurant. And it was closed down when the old man retired. And I tried to take him to McDonald's and KFC. All he told me was, the food is different. He couldn't see the system. He just said the food was different. And it was a mindset I couldn't beat. And you need to challenge yourself on this. Like, what management system will you use if I give you the promotion? Are you going to join the 90% and choose the system? Or are you really going to have a system in place in your mind already that you are familiar with, right? It cannot be ad hoc. It cannot be, I'll take good care of the people. Boss, I help you make more money. You know, those are things you just pluck from the air. It doesn't work. It doesn't work, right? So I think Mr. Singh already shared this, and he put it in a different way. If you are not getting the results that you want, and you keep repeating the same thing over and over again every day of your life, and then every day you still complain about the same thing, then you are actually, you're just going to go back and get exactly the same results you had that you complained about the last 10 years. The other formula for success was, when I was a young man and I started joining the company, there were 50 managers. I was the most junior manager. And this was Siemens Semiconductor. And I was hired to work in the company. I was the first external manager to be hired. No, it's not a badge of honor. The reason why they hired an external manager, because I found out later, because nobody knows me because I was coming back from overseas, my sister's good friend works in the company. So she was having dinner with a friend, and this lady that works in Siemens at the time told my sister, it says, oh, we have a new manager today. Poor guy, he got the shittiest job in the company. And then my sister said, that's my brother. Yeah, true story. So that's why they hired me. I won't tell you what's the job, but it was actually to do culture change. And most people who have done culture change will know it's a thankless job, no power. You have no power. You have only one staff trying to change 3,000 people. Anything go wrong is your fault. Anything go right is the MD is bright. So it's a terrible, terrible job. And so we actually had to explore, if we want to do all these things, what are other people's success? And I stumbled upon this at that time, and I called up Professor Vinod Singhal. He was in Georgia Institute of Technology. And I asked him, can you share with me your research? He even volunteered to come to Malaysia to share this. And At that time, he was talking about total quality management, and he was talking about award winners, because he had a problem. When he went to a company and asked, did you do any kind of effective organizational practices? Everyone said, but he couldn't prove it. So the only way he can prove it was to go somewhere legitimate, like a government body, like MPC. If MPC gave an award, or in this case in America, a state gave the award, he took it as a sign that the practices were legitimate, because it has been externally audited. And he did this over 5 years, right? That's why I love university people. They can spend 5 years doing something and get paid for it, right? And what he found was this. And it really inspired us when we were in Malacca. When we saw this, it told us something very important. If an organization spend time doing this, and I think you heard it from a CEO today from PSI, really, the results are fantastic. Not only do you get better stock price, in this case, operating income, assets, sales increase, number of employees increase, return on sales, you get results in every arena. I even shared this, to be honest, I sent this to, at that time, the CEO of my company in Germany, and he forwarded it to every head in the organization to make sure that they understand why some aspect of business excellence is important, right? It's not that you just get busy with making money and forget about the rest. You got to do the business correctly, the making money part will come. I know it's difficult to get this mindset change, right? But the results, this is just one. I can show you numerous results. But please remember, the journey was, it was actually, business excellence was actually derived from mostly total quality management practices, right? And the results was very staggering. And so we actually did it in Malacca. So at that time, oops, it doesn't move. Can you move? Help me move one slide. Not the other way. So we decided we wanted to do this system. We wanted to look at a management system that could use. We didn't want an expert to tell us. Because we were a European company, we actually had to look at the European Foundation Quality Management Business Excellence Framework. I'll share with you what it looks like. It looks very similar to the Malaysian one, right? And they were, at that time, 440 companies, all the top companies in Europe will send representatives. They will get grants from they will be giving grants to universities to do research on best practices for leadership, for HR, for everything under the sun. And we calculated that it would have taken about 500 man-years for a company to put together all this knowledge. And that was at that time, which was almost 15, 20 years ago. Now you're talking about 1,000 years of man-years of knowledge. And we just say, why do you want to invent everything? I agree. You got to copy and copy it very fast. The faster you do it, the better you get. I was in a manufacturing arm of creative technologies. When Apple lost 100 million in the lawsuit, they celebrated, we cried. Because with that 100 million lawsuit loss, they made billions from the technology. They knew what to do with the technology, and we didn't at that time, right? So when we say come up to a better system, and then we found out that there was no necessity to come up with a better system. Yeah? It's not working. Can I move the slide? Yeah? There was, at that time, I think it was 1988, was the Baldrige. Yeah? In case you get confused, we call this the egg-shaped framework. So it looks like an egg, right? So it's different from the others. Now, when you were in the US, at that time it was very, very critical moment for US. The Japanese was beating them in everything. And it was using excellence, but at that time excellence in quality. And the US government felt that they had to respond. And so they, through improve the competitiveness of the industry and of the nation, They actually started with the performance excellence framework. They call it the Malcolm Borich. The other one is the EFQM excellence model. This is the one that we use because we are a European company. And if you notice, this model has practically the same elements. It just depends on where you slot it, right? And if you look, it's very similar to the Malaysian excellence framework, right? Now, the advantage of having all this is that as the CEO, as a departmental head, as a regional head, you do not have to think how you want to manage your organization. Now, you may not have to do everything, but it just gives you a starting point. A framework is me landing in Sabah or in KK, and I don't know where to go. And one friendly Sabahan say, let me give you a map. The map is a piece of paper, a representation of the landscape here. But at least it gives me a direction on where to go. You still have to walk. You still have to do the hard work. And you still got to decide where you want to go. But the framework is there. The map is there. And this is really the power of having a business excellence, right? And what is the framework does for you? The framework actually helps you to assess your performance. You know, you have to start looking at everything to identify your strengths and your areas for improvement. You integrate your existing tools. In the past, you do a little bit of 5S, a little bit of lean management, you do a little bit of innovation council, you do investment council. You have a little bit of everything. You start saying that first we take everything together and see whether we can put into the framework. The key word that we use in business excellence is integration. The key word is integration. In almost everything you do, and this is really a free piece of advice, in almost everything you do in the organization, if you do not have an integrated strategy, you have nothing. What we mean by integrated strategy, don't put in a carpet if you haven't figured out how to maintain it. Putting the carpet is easy. Maintaining and keeping it clean is difficult. So an integrated strategy is not the ID, the interior designer, gives you the most beautiful layout. It's the interior designer who gives you the layout and then also teach you how to maintain it for the next 5 to 10 years. Just having this little bit of mindset change totally changes the way you run your company, right? If we're going to put bulbs on the top, what kind of bulb should we put? The cheapest or the longest lasting, right? If you cannot afford LED, which can last for 10 to 15 years, and if you can only afford one place, where would you put it? The highest point, so that you don't have to ask crane to come and change the light bulbs. It's a small thing, but every one of you who is in management, raise your hand if you have a time management issue. How many of you feels that you got too much time, don't know what to do, or most of you got too much to do and not enough time? Come, raise your hand, right? So shy, right? How many of you have time management issue, meaning you got too many tasks and really not enough time to do, right? Why? Because we are busy worrying about all these things. Really, look at your life. You're busy on, we call it busy on the non-business things. You need to be business busy, not busy to keep you from business. How do I know this? As a coach for top management, what I do is I shadow them. I spend 2 days, 3 days, before you even hire me, I spend 2 days, I follow what they do, I note down what they do, I see how they talk to their people, and then at the end of the day, you find out that really, top people don't do strategic things. Trust me, a lot of you don't do enough strategic things, you do operational stuff, right? Certain percentage, you know, if you are a new executive, you do 10% strategic. If you are management, maybe 20%. Your senior management, maybe 30%. But as you get to functional head, maybe you need to do about 50%. CEO may have to think about the future 70 to 80% of the time. I know it's difficult, but he has to think about the future. Trust me, the cleaners will not. They are not planning about the next innovation, right? And then introduce a way of thinking that when you do assessment, when you do a business excellence, you have something to compare with. Why is sports excellent? Because you lose, everybody knows. Lee Chong-wei don't close the stadium and play against himself, okay? He has to play against someone. But if you are running a company, sometimes you can just close yourself. And if you are lucky, you have a sweetheart contract, you're going to survive for the next 10 years. But if you are really in a competitive environment, it is really, really very difficult. All right? And it makes you ask yourself, where is the part of the organization that's driving results? Yeah? But having said all this, right, ladies and gentlemen, do not have this fear. Business excellence is not about taking what you're currently doing and throwing out the door. We are really talking about using all your existing tools, things that you're doing, and looking at where we can push it into a holistic framework and integrated to everything in the organization. Most likely integrated to your strategy, your mission, your values, and your goals, which is the four most important things, right? And this is very, very important, right? Now, if you are in the army and you believe in top-down, then we just ask the general, where do you want to have your annual dinner? But if we are in a company and you believe in empowerment, and it really doesn't matter to you, why don't you form a committee and ask the people where they want to have the dinner? I personally have been involved with this discussion a couple of times. I can share with you. I was helping a company, and I got the shock of my life. The company has a big celebration with a big budget. Asked the people where they wanted to go, family outing. And they had 6-figure budget, I think almost 200,000. And the committee was really excited. They went to Pahang, the Bukit Gambang. They went to see Sunway. They went to see Aikro. They see everything. And then after that, they put together a report. And they show it to the boss. After 6 months, they got everything ready. I remember what the boss said. I prefer to go to X place. I was thinking. Finally, guess where they went? They didn't go where the committee recommended, go where the boss. And I was asking myself, why didn't the boss just tell the committee, by the way, whatever you look at, just go to X, okay? And you should look at the face of the whole committee. And this scene is repeated many, many times, yeah? Many, many times. Now, the question is, if you want to adopt business excellence, this is one part that I agree with you that you may have to think about. Where is your firm's frontier, right? When I'm talking to SME, some of you are at the product phase, meaning you are competing at the product phase. My job is I'm trying to sell this. I'm making this. Honestly, I don't have time for anything else, right? And I do understand that, right? After you start selling this, you start getting orders, and then you start getting some quality problems. All the firms will start thinking, maybe we should have to implement quality. No longer sell the pasar malam. Trust me, if you are from an SME, you probably went through this journey, right? Then you started looking seriously at quality, because quality, for most people, they treat it as a cost. Oh, I want to do ISO, want to hire quality department. Quality department don't do sales, which is sometimes a very big problem for a young entrepreneur, right? After you get that two things roughly settled, you start thinking about customer service, right? Maybe we would have to hire somebody to go and service the customers. Because we are making a little bit of money now, and we can start thinking along this line. As you go through time, or go through the three, the next phase you get is, for most companies, especially in a factory environment, nowadays, including the service environment, you start competing on time. Can we produce the service faster? Look, even the government is doing it. Even the government is doing it. I think it was almost 18 years ago, 17, 18 years ago, I was, whenever the government has the KMK, Kumpulan Meningkat Mutu Kerja competition, they always try to bring in a non-government person as a panel judge. So I had the privilege of doing this. And I remember at one time they were talking about, now this was about 18 years ago when passport takes about 3 weeks, okay? And someone was saying, I mean, wouldn't it be great, right? We can drop the passport off before lunch, go and makan, and then come back and pick it up and then go home. Do you know the faces of everybody look? This one don't understand how the process works. And I'm so proud to tell you all, today, someone who dreams like that for the country has made it a reality for all of us. And in doing so, he has propelled every department to be more service-oriented. So one point of service is that you reach on time. And when we talk about business excellence, we are talking about a choice. You're talking about you are going to fight on organization and knowledge. When you go to Pasar Malam and you see those cheap items, they are still fighting on products. They're not even fighting on quality. If you buy a toy, I remember I spoke to a toy manufacturer in China and I asked him about his quality process. He said, really not so complicated. If you press the doll and it doesn't cry, don't cry. Just give it back to me. I give you another one. Because the product is so cheap, they don't really want to go through all the process. They are still fighting on the first frontier. When you are talking about business excellence, you are actually making a decision. I'm going to fight on the frontier of organization and knowledge. And you see successful company, whether even it's a local guy fighting with international giants, it doesn't matter. They have chosen to fight at the organizational level, integrating every part, getting people to feel motivated to work for the organization. So I'm very glad that we have an example today, right? So what do we mean by business excellence? Basically, one of the things you got to do is, you got to ask yourself, you need to do an organizational health checkup. Most of us do not know whether we are sick or healthy. You really cannot see until you get your blood test, you're going to do your ECG. So basically, when you use business excellence, one of the discipline is to do an organizational health check, right? Just to check, it really does wonderful things for you all, right? And the most important part is the first one, it's a holistic system. Because you integrate every activity around the model, it becomes a very holistic system. It's not feeling proud you have something, just say, oh, my company of 5 years is very good. Because that's the only thing you can say. And 5 years is not even linked to anything in your organization. You just feel proud that you have something to say, right? I want to share with you this organization I was with, right? We actually took the excellence framework. We actually put down all the leadership initiative into the framework, right? I can just show it to you, but I can't send it to you because it was actually the company's data, right? So once we choose business excellence, we also change the mind of the people. How do we change the mind of the people? In the past, in anything we do, we actually talk about compliance, do no harm. When we actually did business excellence, we push our people a little bit further. We ask them, rather than just do compliance, do we have any other opportunity to do better than compliance? Meaning, instead of do no harm, we ask, can we do good? And this applies to everything from HR to CSR to everything that we did. And this is the results we got, right? When we started quality control, we were in the range of about 300 to 400 defects per million. When we implemented business excellence a few years later, we actually reached, the best was 5 defects per billion, which means that all the quality standards cannot use anymore because you can't even sample. How can you sample 5 defects per billion? Now remember, we were at that time making things like sensor for cars. So when you have an accident and the airbag comes up, you don't want to hear that, oh sorry, yours was the 5 per million that failed. So we had to have 100% correct. And really it's a very stressful job to reach that kind of stage, right? And we were actually a MNC, and we also found out that the more successful we became, the more our headquarters invested in us. So when I was there, we started was 2,800 people. And after I left, it was 6,005. 2,000 was spin off. As of today, I'm glad to tell you that they are still investing and they have over 8,000 people there. So even a local management running a system can impress our corporate headquarters. And this tells you a little bit of the awards. Maybe just run through quickly. Yeah, flip. Yeah, this was, we won this, was from the Prime Minister, the QMEA. Next one. Yeah, this was the National Priority Award also from the Prime Minister. And this is the PMQA. This is the Chief Minister Award. OSH, some more. This is our National QCC. Actually, once you do this, you actually do it from bottom to top. Everywhere is excellent. It's not only one CEO that's excellent, the whole organization. I agree with what Mr. Singh said. Winning the award was not a win for himself, it's a win for his organization, right? Okay, this one was individual one, okay? So what we believe is that in business excellence, there is for every effect, there is a specific cause. If you are doing well, you're getting good results, there must be a cause for it, right? Things don't actually happen. So you get the effect if you're willing to put in the causes, right? So what can you do from here? Well, help is at hand. One press. MPC. MPC have all the framework printed, no charge, right? They can pick up the booklet from outside, free. We send them to America, they learn everything, and over the last, 15, 20 years, all the knowledge they got back from all the other wards, they have now put into a nice little booklet, free of charge. This is one of the most wonderful things. They do it for free. You know, you can just get started. Make Sabah the fabulous test case, yeah? Blow everyone away by how great you all can be. You already have a great starting point. It's a beautiful state, yeah? And for me personally, I like business excellence. For me personally, I like it because a lot of companies have vision, mission, goals, and values. I personally like business excellence because when you look at the whole organization, it is one of the only management systems that gives sight to your vision. Because I find a lot of companies' vision can be blind. It gives unity of purpose to your mission. Everybody in the organization knows exactly what you're doing because there's a framework to refer to. It gives alignment to your goals. Everybody knows whether we are fighting like AirAsia on cost or we are fighting like mass on service. Everyone is very clear. I'm not telling you which is the right way. I'm just telling you that alignment is very important. And the most important, as what Mr. Singh starts sharing with you, he talks a lot about people. It is the most humanistic management system in the world today because it put a lot of emphasis on people. It is one of the only management systems that really put heart to everything you talk about as a CEO, as an MD. It really is a very wonderful humanistic management system. With that, I end my presentation. If there's any other thing we can help you with, MPC will be here to help. Thank you very much. Yeah.